Good afternoon, Room 11. Today is our first trial run of a flipped classroom in which we will be doing our notes at home as homework, and we will be working on the problems together in class tomorrow. Today, our lesson is going to be 2.6 dividing decimals. Now, if you have not already done so, I would like you to take a moment to pause the video and go back to your table of contents and add 2.6 in the appropriate area. The date I would like you to use for this is going to be September 28th, because that's the day you should be taking your notes at home. Before we start our lesson, I would like to review some key vocabulary. So let's set up some 3-column notes. I would like you to do word, definition, and an example. I would like you to leave the example box big on its own because we're going to use an example for all of our words in one spot. So the first word is dividend. The dividend is the amount that is going to be divided. So if we were setting up a division problem using the house, as you guys like to call it, we would set it up as so, and the dividend would be the number that is inside. Okay. Your next word is going to be divisor. The divisor is the number that is doing the dividing. It's the number you will divide by. Okay. And in our example, the divisor would go on the outside. Okay. The next vocabulary word is quotient. The quotient is the result or the answer when you divide. So in our example, if I were to do 10 divided by 3, that would be, and yes, that was me pausing for you to answer, it would be 3. Okay. Final word is remainder. And the remainder is, oh, you can't see, let me move that up. Remainder. The remainder is any amount that is left over. Okay, so if I had 10 divided by 3, I said it would be 3, but that's only 9. So I would do my 9 here, subtract 1, and the 1 would be my remainder. Okay, now that we've reviewed our vocabulary, we can get into the lesson for today. For our first example, our first step in division, we are going to be dividing by a whole number. So example 1 is dividing by a whole number. And there are going to be 4 steps that we are going to be doing in order to divide by a whole number. Okay. I would like you to set this up sort of as a 3-column note as well. Over here are going to be your steps, And it's not really 3-column notes because we're not necessarily making a connection here. It's more of just a way for us to organize what we are going to be doing. So these are going to be your steps in this column. And the next column is going to be example A, and then example B will be in your next column. Okay, so for example A, if we have 7.6 divided by 4. Okay. The first thing we would need to do is to set up our problem using the house, as we sometimes refer to it as. I never want you trying to divide horizontally. I always want you to do it the long division way. So step 1 is to set up the problem. Okay, so if we were going with example A, I would set it up with 7.6, my dividend, inside, and 4 on the outside. Okay. Step 2 of this problem would be to set up my decimal point in my answer. Now, just like with addition and subtraction, the decimal point goes exactly where it is in the problem. So, as long as you're dividing by a whole number, it goes exactly where it is in the original problem. So, 4 does not have a decimal point. It's a whole number. So, 7.6, my decimal point is going to move straight up. So, it's in exactly the same spot in the answer as it is in the problem. So, step 2 is move the decimal point straight up. Okay, so my decimal point is here. It's going to go right here in my answer. Okay, now the beauty of a flipped classroom where we're doing our notes like this is that if I'm going too fast, feel free to pause the video and slow me down. And then when you're ready, just start the video again. Okay, step 3. Now that we have our decimal point in its place for the quotient, I would like you to begin dividing. So step 3 is to begin dividing. And when we divide, we always begin at the greatest place value. Okay, so we never just start dividing exactly. And now that we've moved our decimal point, we can ignore it for now. So we can look at this number as a 76, even though it's really 7 6/10. But we begin dividing at our greatest place value. So I'm going to cover that part of my problem and just focus on 7 divided by 4. 7 divided by 4 is 1. And now I just follow the steps of long division that we've done before. So 1 times 4 is 4. 7 minus 4 is 3. Okay. Now I'm going to bring down my 6. And now I look at 36 divided by 4. 36 divided by 4 is 9. 9 times 4 is 36. I subtract, and I have 0. Now, I have no more digits to bring down in my original dividend, and I have a remainder of 0, so I am done. 1.9 is my final answer. Okay, let's do one more example. So we're going to move on to example B at this time. For example B, we are going to do 4.5 4 and 38 hundredths. And we are going to divide that by 12. Okay, so if I follow the steps that we've already set up as I'm doing my problem, I'll know I'm on the right track. So step 1, set up the problem. So I'm going to do 4 and 38 hundredths, and I'm going to divide that by 12. Now, some of us have the habit of putting the larger number, 12, inside. They have to go in the correct order. The first number is always your dividend. It always goes inside. Okay. Now, since I am dividing by a whole number, I do not have to do anything with my decimal point other than move it straight up. So I'm going to do that now. Okay. Step 3, I can begin dividing. Just like last time, I'm going to start on my greatest place value. Now, some of us have the habit of skipping this and saying automatically, oh, 4 can't be divided by 12, I'm going to skip it. I need you to put a 0 because we are doing decimals. So 4 cannot be divided by 12 unless we were to make it a fraction. So I'm going to put a 0 here. 0 times 12 is 0. 4 minus 0 is 4. Now I know some of you can do this automatically. I want to see this step, please. Okay, so I have 4, and now I'm going to bring down the 3. And now I focus on 43 divided by 12. 43 divided by 12 is going to be 3, because if I divided it into 4, it would be too much. 3 times 12 is 36. I can't do 3 minus 6, so I'm going to borrow from my 4 and make that 13. 13 minus 6 is 7. Took me a second. And now I'm going to bring down my 8. Now, 78 divided by 12 is going to be 6. 6 times 12 is 72, which leaves me with a remainder of 6. Now, that's a big problem for me because I can't have a remainder when I am doing decimals. I want my remainder to always be 0. So we're going to add one more step to our notes because step 3, begin dividing at the greatest place value, we should say until you have a remainder of 0. So please add that to your notes. Okay, so we're going to add one more step. Step 4. If you have a remainder of 6 like we do in this problem, then we need to get rid of that. The way we do that is by inserting a 0 to the end of the original dividend. And continue dividing. Okay, by adding a 0, we're not changing the value of anything, so we're just adding the 0 here. Now, I have another digit that I can bring down, and I'm going to change my 6 into 60. Now I can do 60 divided by 12, which is going to be 5. And now I have a remainder of 0. If this was anything other than 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever it may be, I would just add another 0, bring it down, and continue dividing until I had a remainder of 0. Okay. Now I would like you to try some problems on your own at home. So I'm going to give you 2 problems, and I want you to bring these to class today and show me how you did with them. Problem number 1 bring them to class tomorrow because we're not doing it tonight. So problem number 1, I would like you to do 36 4/10 and divide that by 2. And I would like you to do 22 2/10 and divide that by 6. See how you do on these two problems by yourself, and we will practice them in class tomorrow if we have any troubles. Thank you for tuning in. See you in class.